Hey guys, welcome to the Property Panel Podcast. You got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here with co-host Josh Story, and today we got special guest Will Wilson on the show. How you doing today, Will?
Good, guys. How are y'all?
We're
Thanks
doing
for
pretty
having me
good.
on.
Yep, thank you for coming on. And
Absolutely.
Before we get started today, Josh, would you go over our title sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our title sponsors for today's episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more, and they're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then for this week's sponsor, I want to thank We Buy Houses. We can offer you cash and close as quick as 2 weeks. You can just give us a call at 270-945-5416 or 270-945-7189.
Thank you for that, Josh. And if you or anyone you know would like to be a weekly, monthly, or yearly sponsor, you can give us a call at 270-422-1331. And that is 100 weekly, 300 monthly, and 3,000 yearly. So go ahead and give us a shout if you'd like to be a sponsor. You're advertised on our intros, outros, as well as intermissions and all social media platforms. And I think we're on about 5 or 6 different platforms, aren't we, Josh?
Yeah, we're on TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. So you can just search up Property Panel Podcast and we should pop up. And like you said, we definitely appreciate likes and subscribes and sharing. So if you can, just tune in and give us a follow.
Yeah, so obviously, like we said, we got Will Wilson on the show. He's part of Kentucky Land, and they're a pretty well-known land company around the area. They do a lot of contracts and what have you. So would you introduce yourself, Will?
Yeah, Will Wilson with Kentucky Land Company. Been there for about 4.5 years now. Got started right in the middle of COVID and all that craziness. So no better way to get baptized into real estate than when all that craziness happened for the last 2 or 3 years. We've been kind of like you guys, running wide open, with subdivision developments, fix and flips, contract for deeds, buying a random piece out in the middle of nowhere, maybe cutting up a few lots on it, things like that. Just kind of testing out new markets. We've got some new properties in some different areas that we haven't been in for a long time and trying some different things and, just seeing what's out there, what we can do with pieces of land and, trying to help people find that one piece of property where they want to build a house, build their forever home. Maybe it's a starter home or maybe it's a piece of hunting land that they can take their family out, camp during the summer and go get a big buck or a turkey in the fall or spring. And, just kind of whatever anybody's land needs might be, just kind of try to help them that one piece of property that they're looking for.
I'm guessing you guys stay pretty busy then?
Yeah. It's kind of 24/7 really. It's,
I bet.
there's, it's slow, holidays and that kind of time of year, just like anything with real estate, but it's, spring, summer, fall, it all stays busy with, especially with a lot of builders right now. I was counting them up the other day. We've done 18 subdivisions in the last 4 years.
Popping them out.
Yeah, that's probably in like 4 or 5 different counties. We've done several here in Meade, Breck, and Grayson. Hardin County, we haven't been able to really get into. We've had some property in Hardin County, but it's just so expensive to get in there right now. It's hard to make those numbers work. But, and then we've also had what we consider large farms. We've had 28 of those, and that's where we get like 5 or more pieces of property off of one individual piece that we brought, whether that's maybe just putting a little gravel road in to access a few lots or cutting off existing road frontage, things like that. So we've been able to do about 28 of those over about 15 different counties the last 4 years.
That's impressive.
That's awesome.
Putting a lot of miles on the trucks, a lot of planning and zoning meetings, figuring out what we can do in different counties because every county's got their different rules and regulations that they go by and, kind of got to figure out what we can and can't do when we come across a piece of property and, go about it that way.
Right.
Yeah. And so obviously you tell us about, a little bit about yourself. What was your start into real estate? How did you get started into it?
I got started when I actually came to Kentucky Land Company. I was selling commercial real estate out of Lexington. Okay. Went to college at UK, worked at the insurance office I did in UK for a couple of years. I only had classes on Tuesday, Thursday, so I could work there 3 days full time.
Nice.
Did that for 2 years and started commercial insurance then, doing property and casualty, general liability, property insurance, all that good stuff. And then my dad's been really good friends with Doug Reed, our owner at Kentucky Land of E-Town. They both grew up in Muldrow together. Just that Muldrow connection goes back a long, long time. And Doug was looking for somebody at the time, needed another sales guy, another guy to get in there and kind of help out. And they had lunch one day, and Doug just kind of told my dad about it. And I'd always wanted to move back to Meade County, grew up in Meade County, and, was always kind of looking for that opportunity. And this just came up, and didn't really know a whole lot. I knew a little bit about it, and met with Doug several times, talked to him about, what exactly is it. I got ballpark idea of what it is, and just kind of took that leap in the middle of COVID.
Leap of faith during
it was too. At the time it was like, oh, it's no big deal, we'll figure it out. And now looking back, I'm like, man, that was crazy. Like selling our house in Lexington, middle of COVID, builded a house here,
full-fledged restart.
Just restarted. Wife got a new job at David T teaching there, so it was kind of a full restart for us, but it's been great ever since.
Yeah, and you jumped in at a good time, as you could tell. Obviously the prices skyrocketed over that next year, so it was really prime time to get in. And then you got great connections. I got connections at Kentucky Lane as far as Marty Claycomb. He's my great uncle, so he used to run around with all them, Bucky Board and them back in the day. So I definitely have very good feelings towards Kentucky Lane, and I love doing deals with them. And you've actually, I think, purchased property off of me and my mom back in the day, off Big Clifty. Somewhere around there. Funny story. I don't think you know this.
No, I was going to see if we were going to talk about this today. So we got hooked up on that deal. The day of closing, my wife was due any day, and a couple days before, she's like, "Man, I think we're going to have this baby in the next couple days." And I'm like, "Can you hold off until this day? We got to get this thing closed with Jalen and Jennifer." And she wakes up that morning. She's like, "I'm pretty sure I'm having contractions this morning. We need to go to the hospital." I was like, "Our closing's at 10. Can you wait till like 10:30?" So booked at Collier, got the closing done in Brandenburg that day. Went to the hospital that night and had our little girl at 5 o'clock that night.
That's awesome.
So got both deals done that day.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. That shows how hard a worker they are over there. And we, like I said, we love working with you guys, and we appreciate you coming on the show. Yeah. And what you got anything else for him?
Yeah, did you watch the Kentucky Derby this year?
Yeah, watched the Derby, watched the Oaks.
What about that finish at the Kentucky Derby?
That was maybe one of the wilder finishes I remember in a long time. Ones, you don't see very many packs of 4 or 5 coming in all within a nose of each other.
Yeah. Awesome.
Unfortunately, my horses didn't win, which is that's pretty normal for me.
Same here.
Yeah, so
we did our podcast last week was over the Champions Day. We did it Wednesday, and every horse that I picked, I try not to pick the best odds, but not the worst odds either. Give me a little more money, and every one that I picked would come in like dead last. And I was like, I hope it ain't like that on the Derby, and I won maybe $5 all day on the Derby. So.
Yeah, I think I hit one trifecta all day, and that was like at 1 o'clock that day, and everything else I just made my yearly donation to.
Yeah. So do y'all work hand in hand with McGee Humphrey Davis too? I know y'all do a lot of deals with them. Is that kind of like a
they're one of our kind of different names, same umbrella.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's us in E-Town at Kentucky Land, the Irvington office, which is Kentucky Land, and then McGee Humphrey Davis here in Brandenburg. We all work together, selling the same properties, helping each other out, find stuff, getting the deals done, things like that. And Jason's been a great partner for me and helped me get started as well.
How many workers do y'all have at your specific branch?
We've got 3 girls in the office right now, keeping up with payments, all the deals we've got going, making sure they get all the paperwork ready and close on time. And then there's Doug, who's kind of the head honcho, oversees everything. And then there's me and one other guy kind of do the sales and help out on the day-to-day stuff.
Yep. And you go ahead.
How many offices do you guys have?
We've got the 3 here in Kentucky. We also have kind of our sister company, Indiana Lane Company, over in Georgetown, Indiana. A few years ago, they kind of divided up ownership. They kind of took Indiana, we took Kentucky, and just kind of it was just time to make that split for everybody. So that way they can focus in Indiana, we can focus in Kentucky, and we still get calls on their stuff, and we can help and things like that, but it's mostly just kind of they stay there, we stay here, and help each other when we can.
So I know you said y'all do a lot of contract for deed. We don't do it as much in our office, but we get calls all the time, when someone's right on that cusp of getting approved for a home loan, and we're like, hey, go contact Kentucky Land. Could you explain a little bit about the contract for deeds?
Yeah, so it's kind of a fairly simple process. Just like a home loan, you'd go to a bank and get approved for, except ours is all guaranteed financing. We don't look at credit history, background checks. As long as somebody comes to us, goes look at the property, has the down payment, which is usually about 10% of whatever we're asking for it at that time. We'll finance it for them anywhere from 5 to 30 years, no prepayment penalty. The interest rate's a little higher than what you get at the bank, but again, it's all guaranteed financing. And then we've had a lot of customers the last couple of years. They're, like you said, they're real close on that borderline of credit wise. And the banks and the finance companies have actually called us and said, hey, can you tell us about these customers? What's their payment history like? Have they been good? And we're like, and if, we'll tell them how it is, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And a lot of times if those people are calling, it's usually a good customer.
Right.
It's,
That's
finally
good.
got the credit cards paid off or car paid off, whatever it is, to bump up their credit score. And then, we're happy to give that recommendation to the bank or somebody to help them.
Is that percentage down? Is that negotiable ever? Or?
It is negotiable, especially on if it's just like a piece of land. We'll deal a little bit there on these homes. Like we do a lot of contract for deed on single wides, and it just takes, and you guys know, it takes so much to get them fixed up and ready to go.
Right.
You kind of have to get that initial investment back a little bit, but never say never. There's always certain situations where we can maybe work.
I know sometimes, so especially for agents that might be listening, we will get those clients that are contract for deed. Do y'all offer any kind of commission or compensation if we were to bring you guys a buyer?
I usually at least try to give them a referral fee if I can't work out a commission split. On the contract for deed, it's a little bit harder just the way we split up commissions and things.
Right.
If it's a cash deal, we're happy to pay 2.5%, 3%. If they bring somebody that's going to buy that single wide or double wide or lot to go build a house on, whatever it is, we're happy to pay that up front.
Okay.
That's, no big deal. It just helps them, helps us.
Do you have like an ideal customer or like a common customer that you see come through?
Not really. That's kind of the good thing about us is we get it from all different angles and directions. We get the new guy that's 20 years old, just moved out of the house, wanting to buy his first place or go buy a piece of land and put up a home, or we've been around so long now that we've sold to the grandparents, the parents, the grandkids, and about to start on the great grandkids probably. So, it's one of those cool things. We get to see it come full circle. So, we don't really have a specific customer we're going after. It's just whoever, we can help, with whatever it is, like I said earlier, building a house or buying that piece of hunting land or just, whatever it is.
And so, like on those contract for deeds, what happens if they don't pay? Do you have to evict them, or since you technically still carry the
we carry it. There is the eviction process, and we'll try to help people. We know stuff happens. We've got people that are 3 to 6 months behind right now, and we're working with them. We've got payment plans in place, or tax time's always a good time that we try to help people get caught up with things like that. It's never one of those things, and we hear it all the time, and I'm sure you guys have heard about us too, that you miss one payment, Kentucky Land Company's going to take it away from you. You don't need to do that. And I'm like, maybe 50 years ago when it was just a totally different thing. Nowadays it's one of those, once we sell it, we don't want to touch it again. It takes too much time and money to get it back and fixed up or whatever we have to do. It's one of those things that we want them to have it, do whatever they want to with it, enjoy it, and, pass it on to their kids or resell it. We've had a lot of clients buy from us, resell within a couple of years, take that money and go buy another piece of property, whether it's from us or somebody else. And, it's been a great thing for us, great thing for them. And it just kind of
I was going to see if you've actually dealt with that. So I had a client a couple of years ago that they were on contract for deed. I didn't know at the time, but they called me. He's like, hey, I want to list my house. I looked it up, and it was actually in Travis Wilson's name, and I was like, called him immediately because I was working at that brokerage. And I was like, what's the deal? He's like, they're on a contract. How much they wanting to get out of it? I was like, well, comps is this. He's like, that's more than they owe. Like, go ahead, tell them it's a done deal. We'll sign off on it. So I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we get that a lot. We'll have realtors comment like, is it okay if they sell this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like in our contract, it says they've got the right to sell it with our written consent, and we'll type up a letter and send it to the realtor, whoever it is, and
awesome.
They go try to get whatever they want to out of it. We get our payoff, and they're happy, we're happy, and it's just it works well. When somebody does what they're supposed to.
Right? Yeah, it's nice when they work out. Like
yeah. There's always those knuckleheads that make it a little hard at times, but usually it works out pretty well.
And you guys buy a lot of property. I've seen you guys at auctions. So is that just something you guys do to buy and hold, or are you just always looking for a good deal? Or
just always looking for a good deal. Was looking at one this morning. Just always out looking whether it is. Right. Auctions have been coming a little hard for us. It seems like a lot of the general public has taken up going to auctions and trying to find stuff. It's they're bringing almost what retail prices are at auction anymore. So years and years ago when Kentucky Land got started, that's how they bought a lot of property, was at auctions, because a lot of times it was still sold in bigger tracts instead of 1 acre, 2 acre tracts, which that's what we're going to end up probably going to do it anyways with it a lot of times. So once it gets to that point, it's usually hard for us to buy that. But we'll go. It's an education process for us as well. Well, what's this going to bring out in this area? We haven't had any comps out there in a while for stuff that we've had or seen anything sell out there. So whether we buy it or not, it's always an education process. And if you can buy something that's just kind of cherry on top for that day. Yeah.
And is there like a certain process? There's like, I know that a lot of investors that buy it like remotely and wholesale, they'll look for like the next Starbucks popping up or something like that. Do y'all have like key things that y'all look for properties, or the best deal?
It's kind of like any real estate. It's all about the deal, location, price, how's it lay? Is it falling off a cliff, or is it, lays good, was crop ground, and somebody's just, getting out of selling their farm or whatever real estate deal it is. Not really, just because we're what I consider more rural development. We're not looking for a Starbucks or a McDonald's pop up on the corner. If we get a Dollar General, we're ecstatic. Because that's when that area is moving up in the world. Just because we're usually a little further out. Most of ours is within that 15, 30, 45 minutes commute of maybe a Brandenburg, a Louisville, E-Town, wherever it might be. So, we're not necessarily in the city limits. I mean, not saying we haven't done stuff in those areas before, but a lot of ours is more rural development, where we're just kind of, how can we get, and making sure, again, back to the different counties, how's it fit? Like Hardin County, you have to have a 3-to-1 ratio. It's got to have 125 frontage. It's got to be 375 off of that, and it's got to have certain acreage requirements. So just kind of knowing what it is for that certain area and things like that. Meade County, you got to stay at 9/10 of an acre. Brecken Crayson, you kind of do whatever you want to out there. They don't really have planning and zoning, which makes it a little easier out there. But making sure you don't buy something that's way overpriced and you can't get your money back out of it after that. Yeah.
And do you guys buy all over Kentucky, or just kind of local to us right here?
Is there anything to make you go out of that hour radius, you think? Or?
Yeah, a lot of it is in that hour radius of kind of E-Town or Brandenburg. We've been in about 15 different counties this last year. We're down to 12 just because we've sold some pieces off. But we've looked at stuff in Eastern Kentucky before. We've looked at stuff in Louisville, Shelbyville. We had an office east side of Louisville for a long time that covered kind of that Oldham, Henry, Shelby County areas. That office is closed now, but we'll look anywhere. If the deal's right, the deal's right. We can make it work some way, somehow. So we're always open to that.
And what's your favorite part of the job?
Just probably the day-to-day difference. You never know what you're going to get. We always call it, running your traps. You never know what you're going to get in your trap, whether that's you're buying something that day or you're selling something or you got to do some advertising. It's just something different every day, and it's in a different area every day. I could be in Meade County one day for the whole day and then not be back in Meade County for 2 weeks. It's just, it's one of those things. We got so much stuff covered in different areas. It's kind of cool to go to the different areas and learn about those towns, what kind of makes them tick, what those people are looking for, whether it's a 1 acre building lot or a 5 acre kind of small farm where they can have some goats and chickens and do a little homestead or something like that. Just kind of whatever makes the people out there kind of want that piece of property.
Right.
Awesome.
Do you have any crazy stories or anything that stands out since you've been working?
The biggest thing is the Facebook messages you get, which I'm sure, it's probably not appropriate for the podcast on all of them, but that's kind of the entertainment. I send them to some friends and family that are close and just, they're like, what are you doing talking to these people, or what are they on that, I had one the other day and it was just way out there. It's like, man, there are some people that just, keyboard warriors is what I call them, So
we get a lot of that.
Yeah,
that's kind of the interesting part of the job.
That's kind of like the double-edged sword with Facebook. It's a great outlet to get your posts and your properties out there, but at the same time, you got those trolls that probably can't even afford the properties. Are the ones that are actually having all those negative comments. So.
They're always the ones that bought it 20, 30 years ago for pennies on the dollar, what it would be for today, and they just think it's crazy. Which not everybody's in real estate, and if you haven't been in it in the last 5 years, it'd be a total shock to what things are bringing now. So I mean, it's one of those things. I love when people start commenting on my posts because it just drives it up the algorithm wall, and it just stays up at the top longer. So thank you. That's what I need to start putting is thank you guys for helping that advertise.
Appreciate the support.
I had another question back to the contract for deeds. So what is your percentage? Is that negotiable as far as interest on the loan, or
it is sometimes? Again, it's one of those things. No deal's ever set in stone with us. It can be different with anything. If it's one of those pieces of property that we've poured a bunch of money into, it might be hard to do that. If it's something that we know is going to be, a little bit harder of a sell. Like we've had some stuff in the floodplains is like recreational ground, things like that. We've maybe worked some deals out a little bit differently, but it's never set in stone, but that's kind of our standard percentage, for a lot of deals.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you can think of you want to go over as far as you or Kentucky Land?
No, not off the top of my head. We covered a lot of it.
Yeah, we covered it quick too. We appreciate you for coming on. I'm sure our audience will, appreciate it as well. And if you or anyone give yourself a shameless plug. Where can they call you to get a hold of?
Yeah, Kentucky Land Company. You can call us at the office 270-737-2111. Facebook, we're on there. Instagram. Not in the TikTok game yet. That's not quite mine. Still trying to figure that part out. But, we've got a couple of social media platforms. Our website, ky-land.com, and that's got all our properties listed and everything. So
awesome.
Kind of check us out there.
Yeah.
Well,
give anyone on a call, and we'd definitely be able to help you out. We love to work with this guy and the whole team alike, So thank you for coming on. And Josh, before we tune off, you want to give a thanks to our sponsors?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to our title sponsors for this episode. Thank you to Collier Title Company. They do deed prep, title work, closings, and more. They're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then for this week's sponsor, I'd like to thank We Buy Houses. We offer cash and can close as quick as 2 weeks. You can give us a call at 270-945-5416 or 270-945-7189.